Hello, it's Monday again, which means I have another lump of fiction to bang on about for 10 minutes, and this one is slightly different to usual, as it is in fact a film we have on today's agenda. The film in question is of course Mind Game, and was actually splendidly recommended to me by two entirely different people. It was first released in 2004, was produced by Studio 4C, and was written and directed by the madcap mastermind himself, Masaaki Yuasa. This is a film with one of the most to-the-point names I do believe I've ever come across. Without actually being explicitly relevant to the story, the name is instead relevant to the experience you get from watching it, that being the experience of having your mind slowly oscillating within your skull before it eventually explodes and dribbles from your ears. It's a bit of a hard one to explain, and the story portion of said explanation is going to be pretty minimal. Let's get to that though, as the backbone of this madcap adventure is based around a gentleman by the name of Nishi. Nishi is a relatively unsuccessful aspiring mangaka who ends up face to face once again with his high school girlfriend Mion. He's always loved the lass and has had the intention of marrying her since their eyes first met, but alas, much to his dismay, she is now betrothed to another lad. During this meeting, they end up in a yakitori bar that Mion's sister works at, and all of a sudden some gangster blokes waltz in and start roughing up the place. Then Nishi has a crazy experience which leads to a falling out with the mafia dudes and a car chase that ends up inside a whale. Nishi, Mion, and Mion's sister meet a crazy old man inside the whale, and well, madness ensues. Doesn't that just sound brilliant? Well, it should, because it was. Ignoring the more important stuff I'll bring up in a second, as a premise I think that's exceptional. Guy loves girl, they run from the mafia, and get stuck in a whale. Buckets of fun. The real achievement of this movie though is that it utilises a much more abstract execution of a common theme in anime, that being pushing the ideal of live your life to the fullest. Its progression and development work around the inside of Nishi's mind and the mad things going on around him. It's about never giving up and running straight forward with your dreams ahead of you, not letting up even if trains and jumbo jets start falling on you. It is by no means straightforward, and there are many different points at which I would say the film's intentions are open to interpretation. It greatly hinges on what angle you come at it from and who you are as a person as to what kind of things you'll end up taking away from this production. It's for this reason I'm not going to go deep into any character explanations this review, because I can honestly say what I pick up from Nishi may well be completely different to what others do. His character did fully drive the film, and to give you not more than my bland opinion, I thought it was a barrel of brilliance. The way in which this film paces its narrative ideas is nothing short of remarkable. You get moments of sheer ambience with walls of sound and visual metaphors. You get moments of meaty, significant dialogue side by side with sheer, stupendously daft dialogue. You get moments of utterly mind-blending insanity that get your blood pumping and your pupils exploding. And you get moments that are just necessary, moments that connect all the pieces together and make this production work. But there are also portions of this movie that felt truly unnecessary to me. Throughout near enough the entire film, its brain-busting lunacy worked perfectly and was so relevant to the characters and their current state of mind. Its madness and its stupidity, and it's always out there, but rarely random. It's at the times when it did feel random that to me it fell completely flat. I could be fully on board with certain bizarre events because they felt like they had meaning, but some were just like, you really are trying your absolute hardest to be weird now, aren't you? Some may disagree, as this is something pinned squarely on what I took out of the movie and what I felt it was trying to achieve. The scenes in question were infrequent, but stuck out like skyscrapers when they were there. They just damaged the flow and damaged what felt like a near perfect execution of fictional insanity. As I said though, these sequences weren't all that frequent, and that's just my interpretation of the scenes in question. You could easily see meaning in these scenes that I did not, and conversely you may even find certain scenes I enjoyed to be meaningless and random. It's all down to how you watch it, but even if you're just watching it for the visual spectacle, you are guaranteed to take something away. This thing was straight up stunning, but it has an exceptionally avant-garde style that could for sure turn some away. But for others, with myself included, the quality and effort put into how this film looked was nothing short of phenomenal. There are two distinct styles used throughout, and they're this warped execution of the usual anime style, and then this kind of rotoscoping live action style gets thrown in occasionally too. Both worked fantastically, the ratio at which they were used was spot on, and there really isn't much like it. It looks like Mind Game. It has such character to it that gives it a standalone visual identity. I look at it and I see bright, eccentric colour and deformed creativity that makes your eyes start bleeding orange Lucozade. It's by no means just bright colour and blasts of artistic flair though, as during the more toned down sequences there's great detail in the backgrounds and exceptional lighting effects to convey mood and atmosphere. It truly worked for me. If you're the type to shy away from the weird and wonderful, then it will have the potential to put you off, but I think you've seen enough over here to get an idea. This said, the atmosphere and berserk scenes in the show had more than just the visuals that aid in their great execution. A sequence of ambience was only made thus through the exceptional use of an accompanying wall of sound sound to set the tone. Similarly, a visually explosive sequence of utter obscenity was only made thus through a side-by-side bombardment of irresponsibly loud rolling drums. The music, and of course the sound effects, were able to chill you into stony silence or get your heart beating like an automatic rifle. It was excellent on every level it operated. Now the voice acting, I can say, was something just impressive. It wasn't a case of specific slices of dialogue taking me aback or anything, it's just that the feeling so many of these scenes convey would have been so hard to pull off behind a microphone in a studio. It would have been so easy for poor voice acting to ruin this film at certain junctures, but was never an issue, and I think that's highly commendable. Mind Game is by no means a film for everyone. If I had to say the kind of person who this movie is aimed at, I would say it would be myself a few years ago. Not that that helps you at all, it's just that because of my taste at the time, this would have completely blown me away and sat in my top 5 best things about being alive back then. As it is now, you should have a pretty good idea as to how you'll get along with this from my attempt at reviewing it. It's actually a really hard film to give a rating to, as your enjoyment of it is kind of poised on the mood you're in at the time. But the rating I shall be giving this bad boy today is a slippery 78%, and I think everyone should at least give this a chance. I went in knowing it was by the chap who directed Tatami Galaxy, a show I thought was incredible, and though I did enjoy it less than I did that, I still feel this is a remarkable piece. With that, I think there's little more to say. I am done, but not for long. See you next week.